Hello, good evening. My name is Anak Agung Gede Agung Dari Prabawa with the ID number 60820. Right now, I would like to make a vlog regarding to my assignment which was given by Professor David Aslan in the International Political Relations Study. Well, during the class, we've covered a lot of interesting topics and important topics. But in here, I would like to put or pick only one topic that for me is interesting. Let's begin. China and Russia are one of the largest states in the world. These states are categorized as the developed state in the world, which have a strong military, sustainable economy, and international political movement that might influence others. Well, both of these states have a special relationship, especially in the international activity. And also, especially this relationship had already been connected since the early 50s and in the Cold War. Well, in here I would like to share you the contemporary world history. In the early 50s, both of these states have a similarity of the governing system, which called communism. In the historical event, the Soviet Union and China were trying to expand their ideology, especially in Asia. Start of the Cold War marked as an ideology war between USSR and China, which were allies at the time against America and Western bloc. If we take a look at maps or geography, the Soviet Union was huge and have a direct adjacent with China. In the 1991, the collapse of the Soviet Union, because of many aspects, so several states declare their independence. Russia, as the successor of that land, and Ukraine, which is important in our topics and assignment here. Although the Soviet Union collapsed, Russia still have a huge territory and large territory. Also, both of those states have their own political system and also the governing regulation, which are Russia with their federal republic and semi-presidential. In Russia, we can find there are two highest authority, which are president and prime minister. But president still take a dominant role in the governing system. So, president still take a highest entity to create a stability and create a decision to lead their state. In the other hand, China applies the system of the republic, socialist states, and communist for ruling their people. In China, the Communist Party became the dominant and influential entity in their politics. Both states have an important role in the international relations. For example, Russia, with one of the strongest states in the world, which have a lot of security weapons, especially nuclear. However, they can threaten the world. Russia has a big role, which is Russia contributed to the growth of armaments and hence the possibility of their uses in the West. Not only in the West, they also export and sell their weapons to Asia and Africa. So, by this, we know that the Russian military cannot be underestimated. On the other point, China, as one of the strongest economy in the world, and they are the largest exporter in the world, can influence another state with their soft power. The role of China is really important for the global economy, for example, trade, cooperation, and investment to promote the world prosperity and stability. And China is the world populous state, which is there are a lot of laborers that ready to work. Through that, a lot of labor from China can contribute their work into the international areas. So by this we can assume that both of the states are important in the international areas and activity. Well, here I would like to explain you the background of the Russia and Ukraine war, and also the role of China's perspective on this war. Well, this war based on interest. Like for example, Ukraine want to join NATO to increase stability and security. By the way, NATO is a treaty organization that was established in April 1949 by the Western Bloc, especially USA. To the historical record, Western and Russia have a dark history. On the other hand, Western want to expand their influence through the security system to the eastern part of Europe. That's why they want to attract Ukraine to join NATO. Saying this, Russia thinks that this is a threat security for their state. So both states still harbor historical events, especially their relationship in contemporary world history. The conflict began to heat up in 2014 when the Ukraine president, pro to Russia, was overthrown. From the perspective of Russia, they want to prevent Ukraine by their action to join NATO. Also, both of the states have already created a discussion, but there is no such a good way to solve the problem. Well, by this, Russia took the last decision to create an aggression to Ukraine, especially in the eastern part of Ukraine. From the point of view of China, they want to get an advantage through the conflict. Also, they rarely criticized of the aggression itself, while each state of the world condemned that aggression. The decision of China was very ambiguous regarding to the international areas. Here, Ukraine and Russia have a similarity, such as cultural background, religion, and especially languages. As expected, their people use various language-specific elements to improve intelligibility. For example, linguistic similarities between Ukraine and Russia. Also, a lot of Ukrainians can use the Russian language, especially the Ukrainian people who live in the eastern part of Ukraine, which have a really close border with Russia. In the next paragraph, we will explain the position role of Russia and China regarding the conflict. As the largest state, which has a dark history with Western, Russia trying to pretend their power states to stay neutral. Because like what I have said before, the action of Ukraine become fraction of Russia itself, and maybe can threaten them based on the security models. On the other hand, the position in China during the war, which is ambiguous, might create many assumptions. And according to the Chinese foreign minister, that China will never accept coercion or external pressure and oppose unfounded accusations and suspicions against China. Beijing's position in here is objective and fair. So by this we know that China is very careful with their movement in this conflict. Because of this war, there are a lot of global argument, especially between Russia and China in the Ukraine war. People who support Ukraine's sovereignty argue that what Russia has done is the international crime and cannot be forgiven. Mostly, its state, especially Western, condemned Russia for what they have done. But from Russia's perspective, what they have done is for the security and national interest, with their hard power, of course. By this, we understand that the realism theory says that the state will always have a fraction with others. For people who support Russia, think that Russia takes a rational choice to minimize the number of threats itself. And China also argues that NATO should accommodate the dialogue within Russia, but China never blamed Russia with their intervention. China argues that they will promote the world justice and peace. United Nations also gave a sanction to Russia. The United Nations explained that Russia violated human rights during its intervention in Ukraine. Also, the superpower states decides this war. We can take, for example, USA as the superpower state. The USA, as the Western bloc, supports Ukraine in this war. The USA supports Ukraine by giving the military tools to strengthening Ukraine defense. Not only that, the USA as the superpower also gives an economic sanctions on Russia. By that action, Beijing argues that the economic sanction given by the USA is outrageous. By this, we understand that the superpower state is more taking a side in Ukraine. There is a theory of regional power in this conflict. For example, there are many states support Russia in this war, such as Czech Republic, Belarus, and following the ASEAN states like India, Iran, and North Korea. And also, by the ambiguous of China, there are many assumptions that China supports Russia. So, basically, a regional power is a power that can gain based on the location. Well, here, a regional power that supports Russia is the state that close to Russia, and I'm assuming that the regional power is connected with the geopolitics interest of each state. Same with Ukraine. The Western trying to save Ukraine because Western want to gain power under NATO in the eastern part of Europe. So Ukraine here take a side from the western of Europe. Also, during the war, a lot of implications happen, for example, crisis, scarcity of resources, and economy, and many more. Here, we emphasize that the economic crisis happened during the Russia and Ukraine war. The scarcity of resources hit the existences in every world, since Russia and Ukraine war happened. The price of oil is getting high and increase. Not only the scarcity, but the number of currency is also decreasing. This war takes a deep role in the international areas during the Ukraine war. And also, by this assignment, we understand that Russia and China relations are still good and there is no friction or conflict between these states during the war. It is possible that the relationship between Russia and China will improve after the Russia and Ukraine war. Because in the Chinese perspective, they rarely criticized Russian aggression and never blame Russian intervention. Not only that, from China's perspective, Russia is by far the most important trading partner. We know that China is really dependency on Russia to modernize Chinese armaments in expected to increase Chinese security models. In my point of view, in Ukraine, Beijing doesn't want to take an active role in this conflict because they don't want to get a bad effect of this war on their trade, of course. Because if China support Russia blatantly, USA as the superpower will give a sanction for them. So that's why China unwilling to risk their business in this war. Yup, that's all about my assignment, and this is the end of our video. And also thank you for your attention, and I hope you understand about the role of China, Russia, the superpower, United Nations in the Ukraine conflict. So I think that's all for today, and thank you.